Here. McGillivray?
Here.
Powell is absent with notice. Charles?
Present.
Long is absent with notice. Moss?
Here.
Markham?
Here.
And sure you have quorum.
Excellent, thank you. Next up, we have our Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next up, we have approval of the previous minutes. Moved by Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner McGillivray. All in favor of approving the minutes from February 9th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Minutes are approved. Next up, we have approval of the agenda for today. I need a motion. Commissioner Kowal, supported by Commissioner Moss. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, the agenda has been approved. Next up, we have public comment. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Come to the end of the table, state your name and the community that you live in, and you have 3 minutes to speak on anything on the agenda in this first public comment. If you have other comments that are not related to this agenda, we'll have a second period at the end of the meeting. So, good morning.
Good morning. I'm all tangled up here this morning. Haven't had my quota coffee, I don't think. Good morning. My name's Catherine Kennedy. I'm from Lake Orion. And I see we have a new department recommendation for electronic communication policy proposed here. This is the first time it's been introduced. I think it needs a lot more thought, and I have a big concern with the fact that the procedures for Oakland County for Freedom of Information Act requests do not allow software to be examined in any way, shape, or form. That's part of the policy that's been set forth by Oakland County. So by us putting all of our systems in software systems, electronic and digital transformation like we've been doing with this super index craziness, we actually are putting ourselves in a position where I don't think any of us can ever know what's ever going on with the county again. If everything's run by software and everything's digital and the FOIA rules do not allow you to get any digital information, boy, I don't see how this is okay for full and fair disclosure of public funds in a public entity. So I guess that's my most important thing. I think it's critically important that we fund the priorities the citizens want. And I would tell you, citizens are very upset by the lack of funding or the games played with the sheriff's department on their budget, where they keep having to come back time and time again to ask for the same thing. The fact that they still don't have authorized overtime, and that probably expired end of January, if my memory serves me correctly. They need to be paid extra overtime so that they are not pushed into forced overtime. That was the entire purpose. It's hard enough that law enforcement has a hard time recruiting or retaining, given the attitudes that permeated our society, sadly. So for the fact that this board has not actually brought that forward to ensure that rather than forcing overtime on the very people that protect us best in our county, it's offensive, purely offensive. The last meeting we did hear about the water lead pipes. Those are the things I think need to be prioritized. I don't think we should be prioritizing so many of these other so-called infrastructure projects that aren't really infrastructure. If we have citizens that have lead in their pipes, that should be priority one. Scrap all the rest. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy, and I apologize for not setting the timer, and I thank you for keeping it to within a general window of time. So, no, thank you. Thank you for being prudent. We have a long agenda today. So next we have, please state your name and the community you reside in. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Heather Smiley, and I am from Lake Orion. In regards to what is on the agenda today, I'm kind of happy to see that under the legislative affairs, we are talking about the election. This particular, I guess, recommendation is to pay back money for absentee ballots that were shipped elsewhere to be counted. I know with personal experience, my daughter's absentee ballot from Orion Township has not still been counted. I have been in contact and have not received any response from my clerk. We also have gone several times on the website to check to see where that has gone. So as a personal experience, I do not believe that we should be moving our ballots. As a citizen who has the legal right to vote, I think that not only are IDs imperative, and I do have some paperwork, if you haven't signed already, to make sure that IDs will be needed to have any kind of voter's rights. You can also email me at heather.smiley@outlook.com if anyone listening needs to get signatures on this for our initiative. But I definitely think that we need to keep our ballots in the location that the citizens drop them off at. I think that is the main reason we're having so many issues with mistrust in our government, because as a citizen, I do not feel that my votes are being counted. And when you have instances like in Detroit, the TCF building, where 300,000 plus ballots were dropped off in the middle of the night, you wonder, was my vote in there? Was my daughter's vote in there? Was it counted? We need to get back to the paper ballots if necessary to make sure that we have a fair and free election. In regards to I know that there is a delinquent tax quarterly fund that is attached to this, and I see on it that there is about $6 million that is being used for collection services. I think we should take our money and spend it better, in a better capacity, possibly surveying vets that maybe are back on taxes, low income, people with disabilities, the people that need the help the most, wipe their debt out, and then we don't have to call for collections on that. And also in regards to, there was one more thing. Oh, the information technology. Again, I think that a lot of stuff is being put onto the internet that shouldn't be on the internet. Maybe I'm old. I did grow up with the first Apple, though, so I am pretty savvy on it. But I understand, as a comment yesterday, about Russia and other outside sources being able to easily hack it. And then what do we see on the news? Russia, indeed, is cyber hacking things. So the more and more information we have available for the enemy, shall we say, to get, it takes away our trust and our ability to rely on you guys making the decisions, quite frankly. I should not have my mortgage information available to be hacked to where they can get, the names of the people, residency, whatever. One more little side thing. Yeah, the water resources. If there's any way to take any of that additional funding we got from the government and make sure our citizens are safe from lead in their drinking water, our babies, our children, our old people, definitely number one priority. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wants to speak in public comment on any item on the agenda for today? Seeing no one else, I will close public comment at this time, and we'll move on to communications. We have a number of items in communications. I need a motion to receive and file. Commissioner Moss, supported by Commissioner Cavell. Anybody have anything on the communications they want to discuss, or? Seeing none, let's prompt the vote, please, on receiving and filing the communications.
Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next up, we have item 8A, the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee recommendation in the Clerk Register of Deeds Election Division to continue 2 sunset positions. I need a motion. Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner McGilvery. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I would ask you to please make sure you're speaking into the mics. I sat yesterday and watched the LAGO and the public health and safety meetings, and
You couldn't
if
hear?
you're not close to the mics,
sorry.
it doesn't always come through. So just make sure you're speaking right to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nobody wants to hear my voice.
Yes,
Anyway.
we do. Welcome, Clerk Brown.
Yeah, Chuck.
Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Lisa Brown, the Oakland County Clerk and Register of Deeds.
I'm Joe Rozelle, the county's Director of Elections.
Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for taking this up. Initially, we had a resolution 2 years ago, right?
Right.
That created two extra positions in the Elections Division. That was when we took, the law changed and allowed us to contract with our locals to tabulate their absentee ballots. This is if they want it. This isn't us taking over. We have had an incredible response. We have another large municipality that wants us to count, so we're actually going to be looking at another location. We need more space to be able to do this, and we need more people to be able to do this. And, some people think, oh, an election, that's 1 day a year, or 1 day every 4 years or something. And for us, it's not. There's a lot that goes into an election. But also, my election staff, they are all, I don't know if I'm going to use the right word, federally certified as passport agents. We are a passport agency, so that is ongoing as well. You can see that, we're paying for these positions from different line items. I will say, if you saw I was a little irritated because in the initial resolution 2 years ago to help pay for it, I took an FTE and reduced it to PT&E to help pay. And I'm not getting credit moving forward in perpetuity for that. So I'm a little irritated with that. I had to come up with money otherwise, so I kind of feel like I'm paying twice, but whatever, it's fine. I don't know. Any questions, or if Joe wants to say anything, I don't know. Just wanted to add that in.
Okay, I will, Mr. Rozelle, do you have something you want to add before I open it up?
The only thing I'll mention is we have 3 set election dates under statute in even and odd years, May, August, and November. And then in presidential years, we have the March election. And then like yesterday, there's an election that was called by the governor for a vacancy in the legislature. And so these positions, as elections ramp up, and then we're at the peak, and then we're in certification. We immediately start with filings and moving into the next election. These positions are critical because we're utilizing about 300 workers in our largest election. That's a lot of contact that we have to have, paperwork that has to be filled out, training that has to be done. And so there's a lot of interaction and throughout this entire process, frankly. So the positions are really needed in order to make this successful. It's been successful. We're now running the largest absentee counting board in the state, larger than Detroit's TCF Center. So it's a lot, but we've received rave reviews, results posted in a timely manner, transparency from challengers that were there, observers that were there, workers that were there from both political parties. So we're very pleased with the process, want to continue it, and these 2 positions are critical for that.
Thank you. I will open it up to the board at this time. Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Madam Clerk and Mr. Rozelle. I just would like to say that we're very fortunate to have Mr. Rozelle with us. He's renowned throughout the state as being an election expert, so we appreciate your services to Oakland County.
Thank you.
The only question I have, I guess, is that the resolution states that we established a reimbursement fee from cities and townships, but then I'm seeing, it looks otherwise like it's coming out of your budget. So which is it?
So there are things like the 300 people that we hired for November 2020. We paid, and I'll use it backwards. I mean, we did have CARES Act fund, and we weren't charging our locals for that at that point. But now we came up, and that was a separate resolution, the fee schedule and all of that, and we talked to all of our local clerks to make sure they were okay with it. They're reimbursing us for the expenses that we are incurring. It is costs that they would have otherwise. They would have to hire the people. They'd have to put the notice in the paper, like it's just all of that. And in some cases, it's a savings for them because some of the communities pay their workers more than we do. So, and we had a conversation with all the clerks that we currently have contracts with to say, if, what price point are you comfortable with? Because we don't want to lose people that were working for $250 a day. But, there's some communities that would pay like $150 a day. So we had to find like that happy medium that everybody felt comfortable with and all that. So, so for some of them, it's actually a savings because we're paying less than what they did, but it's being divided on a proportionate basis for many of the costs. So depending on how many ballots we're tabulating for them, that percentage, then they're paying for different costs and things like that. So
Okay,
there's
thank you.
reimbursement from them. Yep. Sorry if I talk too much.
Put your hands.
Commissioner
My hands,
Moss.
yeah, I should sit on them.
Yeah, what's the large municipality that you say you're just getting on? Which one is it?
Which one are we talking about?
Yeah, what's the
Well, I don't
lar-
want to say if it doesn't go through, but
Oh.
it's another big one that we
It's a
would.
large municipality.
It's a large
It's
munis-
a
yeah.
municipality, too. It's not a, okay.
Yes. I mean, but we already do what we do, we already tabulate for Southfield, which obviously is quite
So it's
large.
not Southfield.
No, we already do Southfield, we already do Pontiac, we already do Royal Oak. So, I mean, we already do quite a few nice-sized communities.
Do you
but
do Rochester?
We do not do Rochester. You're going to sit here and just ask me what, no, so,
There are 63 communities
And I
going
will
here all
say-
afternoon.
We
You
got
know,
80
and-
well, we
and-
got 81, 82, 180.
I will tell you this, that there are clerks who wanted us to tabulate for them, and their local board said no. So again, I don't want to say what clerk is in contact, that we're in conversations with, especially if their board says no, or they change their mind, or whatever it is. So.
Starts with the, no, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Charles?
Taking a look at the third attachment, I guess this is the sunset position, Schedule A detail. I just was curious about the fiscal year 2023. Do you need to see this to know? It's just that one of them has a parenthesis around it, which usually means just maybe that is coming from a different place.
So my understanding was that the positions were originally in the 23 budget, but then that is taken away after, whose budget here? That can explain. I did ask about that myself, but
Okay.
it was like, they're originally held in there, but because then they were sunsetted, they were already going to be taken away, kind of a thing.
Yeah, so the, originally
you
they
worked
were.
in fiscal, you
Yeah, years ago, and when I wore another hat. So I believe that they were using planned use of fund balance in 2023. So now that they're being made permanent, we are not using planned use of fund balance. We're using revenue from within our department's budget.
Okay, yes. Thank you, that's clear
Thank you.
now.
That sounds much better than.
Thank you. Clearly understood. So, any other questions? I just have two questions.
Sure.
How many communities do you count absentee ballots for?
17 right now.
17? And some big, some little.
Correct.
Right.
And what happens on election day, if I take my absentee ballot and I drop it in the box in front of City Hall on election day? Does that get counted by you, or
No.
does that get counted by my
No,
municipality?
so the way that, what the law states is that we tabulate all the absentee ballots that a municipality gets, that we contract with, all ballots that they have received up until 4 PM on Monday. Anything after that they receive, whether it be 4:01 on Monday or on Tuesday, they tabulate in their precincts. So, and it's a really good question that you ask, because if somebody saw this in their precinct, they might think something weird is going on, that somebody's coming in with, a box of ballots, right? And they're just feeding them in. Well, they're not. They're absentee ballots that have been returned to their local clerk after Monday at 4 PM. So your ballot would then be tabulated in your precinct.
Okay, thank you. It's complicated. Okay, if there are no other questions, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Excellent, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda, we have item 8B, fiscal years 2022, 23, 24, and 25, with the Michigan Association of Public Employees, MAPE, for non-supervisory employees in Children's Village. Motion from Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner Cavell. Good morning.
Morning.
Please introduce yourself.
Hi. Yep, April Lynch, Deputy County Executive, and I'm here to present the request to approve a contract for MAPE, which is the Michigan Association for Public Employees. For those of you who've been here for a long time, you might remember them as GELC, which was the Government Employee Labor Council. So they switched this year. So we had a little bit more of an in-depth union negotiations with this group, updated their contract language quite thoroughly. That's been vetted by our labor attorney as well. So all of that has been what I call approved to form. But the crux of most of what we have here in for this particular group is you'll see primarily a 2%. As well for 22, 23, 24, and 25. You will see a few other positions are higher than that based on market need, and the youth specialists are a big core part of what we do over at Children's Village. So given all of that together, they had a little bit higher than the 2%. We also did something for them as well, as we call do assignment pay. Some of our youth they have special needs and need more attention and time and a little more skill set with some of our workers. So we are providing extra pay for those folks that need to be with some of those children that need more time and intensive care, if that makes sense. Comp time, like many of the other contracts you've seen before you, it has been addressed, as well as they did agree to the health care plan that we created as a group that the other unions and non-union will be following. And then one of the things that we did here as well is that we allowed and are encouraging people that need to continue their education as it relates to any certifications they need or whatnot, that we will pay for them to maintain those certifications and get those certifications as we move forward. And then we did adjust some uniforms for the nurses there to give them a better uniform allowance. So those are the high-level view of what happened with this particular contract.
Okay. I'll open it up to the commission at this point. Does anybody have any questions? Commissioner Cavell.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, April.
Hi.
What is out-county board and care as a revenue line item? Where does that money come from?
I don't know that. I would have to have
Okay.
Heather. We can follow up with that.
Yeah.
Heather would know.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Seeing no one, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch. Have a good day.
You too.
All right, next up, we have item 10A under Economic Development and Infrastructure Committee recommendations. The first A is the intent to reimburse project costs from bond proceeds. I need a motion.
Wait, we're on 9.
9A? Am I? Oh, I skipped a whole committee. Sorry about that. So you guys that are waiting for economic development, we're not going to do you yet. We'll be back in.
I thought we were early. That's okay.
Sorry about that.
We'll be here. That's all right.
Okay, next up is Public Health and Safety Committee recommendations. I apologize for my confusion. Item A is appropriating funding to replace and upgrade airborne video observation systems. Boy, that's a fancy title. Motion by Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner McGilvery. Good morning.
Good morning. We're here to ask to have our aviation system replaced. We call it the downlink. It makes the helicopter so that you can see from above what the helicopter sees below. A lot of agencies utilize this from us when they call us to use the helicopter. It hasn't been working. We need it replaced. It went out to bid. This is a new vendor. It would be put in both helicopters. And we're asking for your approval to have this funding to get this repaired.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Commissioner Kowal.
Just a comment, Madam Chair, the helicopter is an invaluable tool. What you can see from the air and how you can respond to situations from the air it's just, it's something that we can't afford not to have. So I'll be supporting this.
Commissioner Cavell.
I just want to mention that Macomb County and Wayne County do not have helicopters, and I think this is a misuse of funds and will be voting no. And would like to know why the one helicopter that's not functioning is in Texas, if you can illuminate that for us.
It's being repaired.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Moss.
Thank you. It's easy to kind of make fun and have fun with the fact that the sheriff has an Air Force, and Lord knows I've done it enough myself. But really, one of the reasons Wayne and Macomb don't, because they use ours. And if you've ever seen video, if you've ever, which they used to, by the way, come in and before you would come in for this, you would have videos of people being lost. You would give us the whole 9 yards, which maybe you need to start doing again to repeat as to why this is an effective asset for the county to have. But having seen people being lost and being found, criminals being gotten with the aerial unit, and you would not doubt both the efficacy and the need and the good reasons for having this. So I certainly intend to vote yes, and just count me in. All right, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moss. Anyone else? Commissioner Charles.
Thank you. I guess my summation simply is, I just want to make sure I have the dollar amount correct. I have no qualms with helicopters. In fact, I'm looking forward to my opportunity to hop up into one and take a look at my fair community from the sky. But I won't let that sway why I'm voting today. But I am curious, besides helicopters, because they do seem quite expensive, especially to maintain. What is it called? Non-manned vehicle operations and things like that. Are those a part of our outlook, our plan? I know, and I may be stepping on toes here, but like with parks, for example, it's so much space to cover. Not androids. What are they called?
Drones.
Drones. Thank you. Drones have been utilized. Is that something that is in our wheelhouse in terms of operational supplies?
Yes, we have some drones now. We are in the process of testing one, specifically in Pontiac. I don't know exactly how many we have. One issue with the drones, and we just were told this was experienced last night, especially in Michigan in the cold. They were flying some drones, and they had to have extra batteries because they can't fly for very long, where a helicopter can stay up for 4 hours. But yes, to answer your question, the short version, drones are part of the future. We just need them to get a little bit, the technology to improve.
Yeah. Well, I tried to use a parking meter, and it was frozen up downtown. The other thing, and I think this is more so to the board or the committee, is just it says $750,000 appropriating it, which means at some point they'll come back and then we'll assign, or is this a one and done? I see Michael shaking his head. So that's probably my only question, and it doesn't prevent me from voting today, but I'm just curious, will this be coming back? It seems like we do a lot of appropriate, then assign, appropriate, then assign. Come on down.
So actually, it's the opposite.
The
So if it's
opposite.
assigned, then we come back for an appropriation. This is an appropriation, so it is a yes vote, and then we move forward.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Anyone else? I want to agree with Commissioner Kowal. I have personal experience with a neighbor 2 doors down. Teenage girl was in distress, and the Oakland County helicopter came out, found her, probably saved her. And, we're grateful for that, so thank you.
Thank you.
With that, if nobody else has any other questions, I will prompt the vote. And And I live all the way out in Novi, so they had to come a ways to get to us. So it was good, though.
Madam Chair, you have 5 yeas and 1 nay.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, we got that.
Let's see.
Grant.
Next up, we have the Michigan Department of Natural Resources for Marine Safety Program Grant. I need a motion. Commissioner Kowal, supported by Commissioner McGilvery. Good morning again.
Good morning. So this is our annual application to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources for marine safety funding. So as you can see, we're asking for $451,239. So we always ask for the max that we're allowed to apply for. Historically, we get about $175,000, and that's been going down over the years. So we don't get back as much as we ask for, but we're looking for your approval to submit the application.
Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you, and I hope for once you get the full amount. There's always, there's always a miracle there somewhere.
Every now and then.
Commissioner McGilvery.
Just a comment, as a former undersheriff always told us that Oakland County has the most registered boats of any county in the state, and yet we don't get the full amount where other counties get a large amount.
Correct.
Or a larger amount, let's put it that way. What can we do to fight that? I mean, to me, that just doesn't make any sense. If we have the most inland lakes, the most boats registered, why aren't we getting our fair share from the state?
Actually, were you raising your hand, Commissioner? Go on.
Can I answer
Obviously
that?
at the state.
Please do.
When I got elected to the state legislature, that was my number one thing I tried to change. And when it was in one of my Republican Northern Michigan colleagues, he tried to get it referred to his committee so he could kill it. The problem is we're one of 83 counties, and most of those other counties like the way it's done. It's just kind of like road funding, too, the road formula. They like it that way, so they don't want to change. So, and the DNR likes it that way, too. So it was, maybe somebody should take that up again in the legislature and see if they can get that done.
Okay, thanks.
That
was encouraging.
Michigan, and this is us, and this is everybody else. And you point out that Oakland County is a net donor county, and we're the only one. And they say, yeah, we know that. We like it that way. So it becomes difficult.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and prompt the vote. I guess I did have one question I wanted to ask. I don't think it'll change anything, but we are reimbursed by local communities when we patrol the lakes. Is that correct?
The ones that contract with us.
The
So we
ones-
have, yes, so actually, we contract with the municipality, then municipality contracts with the lake board. So some of the municipalities, we have multiple lakes, but yes, so we have a rate, and those are actually coming up. Those are expired, so we'll bring those back shortly to the board for approval for the next, hopefully, 3 years, and set a rate. And basically, if they want dedicated patrols for certain hours on their lakes, then they contract with us for that.
Okay.
The rest, we just do call-outs.
Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead and prompt the vote, or did we prompt the vote? We did, okay.
You want me to redo it?
Nope,
Okay. You have 6 yeas and 0 nays.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That's it for Public Health and Safety. Next, we move on to Economic Development and Infrastructure Committee recommendations. Item A is the intent to reimburse project costs from the bond proceeds. So now we have the Water Resources Commission folks. Good morning. And I need a motion.
Good morning.
Motion by Commissioner Cavell, supported by Commissioner McGilvery. All right, go ahead, folks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Sid Lockhart here on behalf of Commissioner Nash, also Amy Pluff of our Water Department. And we have Eric McLaughlin from Dickinson Writer Bond Council and Stephen Burke from MMSCI, our financial advisor. So we're here today to ask for two things. One, the intent to issue bonds, and also then to reimburse our project expenses. And then the second thing is to authorize bonds. And I don't know if this was an error in City Clerk, but it seemed to be duplicative on the agenda with A, B, C, and D. just a thing I noticed there. So I don't think we have C and D, but just need 2 resolutions today.
That's all we're showing on our agenda is 2 resolutions, so.
Okay, perfect. Mine shows 4, so that's
Okay.
all the better. So the way this is set up through the drinking water revolving loan from the state, and kudos to Amy and her department for chasing this down. There's a lot of effort to get this loan. This is a loan of $5 million they're asking for to borrow, but also it has 100% principal forgiveness for Pontiac residents, and this is will be used to change the lead service lines for hopefully 1,000 of our residents in Pontiac over 3 years. The total need, we think, is 8,000 residents with a bigger nut at the end of that thing, and this is a step in the right direction. The project will probably cost about $8 to $10 million to do, and there's only $5,000 per home that's capped by the state. The way they set this program up is kind of convoluted, but they're capping each home with a $5,000 cap. And then in total, we'll get $5 million in principal forgiveness, but in reality, they'll probably cost possibly $8 to $10,000. $10,000 being extreme hard to do, around $8,000 to do. And we're getting reimbursed for this principal forgiveness of $5 million for construction costs only, not our engineering and overhead and oversight and all those kind of other expenses that we'll incur. If there's any questions, we'll be happy to answer any.
Okay, I'll open it up to the commission. If nobody has any questions, we can go ahead and prompt the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, excellent. Motion carries. Next up, then, we have the second item, authorized Oakland County City of Pontiac Water Supply System bonds. I need a motion for that. Commissioner Cavell, supported by Commissioner Moss. Okay.
Yep, thank you again for that. And I'll have Eric McLaughlin or Dickinson just go further in the bonding explanation of the 2 resolutions here in the second one.
Thank you, Sid. Madam Chair, members of the committee, thanks for having me here to explain this. The resolution that you just adopted was a resolution authorizing a notice of intent to be published, declaring the county's intent to issue bonds to finance improvements to the water supply system for the city of Pontiac. The second resolution authorizes the issuance of bonds to do that, as is the program requirement for obtaining the forgivable loan from the state. The bond resolution is very similar to other general obligation bond resolutions that you have seen in the past. It establishes the maximum par amount, establishes the scope of the project, and sets the parameters within which the bonds can be issued. Also delegates authority to Commissioner Nash to sign the required documents and take the necessary actions to complete the financing through the Michigan Finance Authority. I'm going to pause briefly to restart my camera. Okay, there we go. So that is a very quick overview of the bond resolution, and if adopted today, then it would go into effect and be effective for issuing the bonds once the referendum period has expired. The referendum period will be started by publication of the notice of intent approved with the prior resolution. Starts the 45-day referendum period. At the end of that, then the city will have acquired the authority to issue the bonds in accordance with this bond resolution if adopted. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Does anybody have any questions about this? Commissioner Charles.
Yeah, I just want to make sure Sid didn't cover up his Spartan logo just because of this meeting.
Oh, that's funny.
My base got a little chilly, so I threw this sweater on. Go green.
Yeah. I just want to say that I'm glad that we are taking on the replacement of lead service lines. I sat in the previous meeting, the economic development meeting, where we talked about how big is the problem across the county, and you told us that pretty much every community has lead service lines, homes that were built roughly earlier than 1940 and so on. So this is a small piece of what we're going to be looking at going forward to get this job done, and it's going to take a number of years. How long did you project that this piece of it, this 1,000-home piece of it, is going to take to be completed?
Amy anticipated 3 years.
It's 3 years.
Okay, 3 years
Yep,
to
and
do
there's
1,000 homes, okay.
And there's 8,000 to do in Pontiac, and there's also some in Rolick Township that, as you mentioned in the prior meeting, this is a loan. Rolick Township is more set up for a grant because Pontiac does have other resources of commercial businesses and things like that that help the residents with the rate. Rolick Township doesn't have any of that. So Rolick Township really can't afford to have, Eric McLaughlin and Steve Burke here that are costs of selling the bonds for those people because it's just residents down there. So we're also trying to get money from them, but it's hard to get it freed up anyway. So we're happy to take all we can get. You can help us in that matter.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other comments or questions, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas and 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries, so we're off and running. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your time.
Okay. Next up, we have item 11, departmental recommendations. Item A is electronic communications and use of technology policy. Good morning, gentlemen. Please introduce yourself, and I will need a motion. Commissioner Charles, supported by Commissioner Cavell.
Good morning, Commissioners.
If you're not paying attention.
Gentlemen and ladies, I'm Mike Tim, the Director of IT, and I'd like to introduce our Chief Information Security Officer, TJ Fields, to my right. And to his right is Heather Mason from the HR Department. So this resolution is an update to an existing policy, and I'm going to let TJ kind of walk through the summary of the changes. And Heather is also here to provide any support around implementation. Just as a brief introduction, this is a policy that, like all policies, obviously, from a technology perspective, the IT department represents the subject matter expertise, but we worked very closely with Corporation Counsel to make sure that it protects the county, and all of the legal responsibilities that we have as a government entity, as well as working closely with HR to ensure that, it meets the responsibilities we have to employees, and also that it works with our contract labor force as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to TJ to provide the summary.
Yep, good morning, everyone. So as Mike mentioned, this is an update.
Pull the mic up close,
Yep.
please.
I'm not used to eating the mic. I'm pretty loud. This is an update of a policy that went in front of the Board of Commissioners about 4 years ago. This is updated for everything that has happened in the last 4 years, up to and including COVID, and aligns with an upcoming HR policy in terms of remote work. There are 3 main, other than administrative changes in terms of rearranging sections, there was really 3 changes to this policy. The first is explicitly saying that any county record remains a county record regardless of any system or device it lives on, and is subject to all retention and FOIA capabilities that the county may need to reach out and get that record. The second is around the banning the non-use of personal accounts to perform county business. And the third is around some common sense and reasonable security requirements if a user is required to use a personal device to use county business. So again, to be clear, the first one is around records and their retention and our legal responsibilities around them. The second is around personal accounts, and the third one is around personal devices. I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
Okay. Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you. Does this mean I can't reply to any of those emails offering me free gift cards?
Don't click the link, please.
Commissioner Charles.
Yes, so I'm really happy about the retention, sprucing up the retention policy piece. And then I thought Commissioner Kowa was gonna ask my question, but just in the sense of personal device, county device. So anything issued with the, most likely with the barcode, things of that. Oh, that's an amazing echo I'm having between these two things. So then personal device, who needs to then log in, because from time to time, like with Civic Clerk, it's been kind of a headache. I don't know about the other commissioners' experiences with it on certain devices. Are you saying not to use it, or that it's okay, but just to be mindful? Because, Wi-Fi, I think there was even some public comment earlier about just the vulnerabilities of certain tech. So if you could speak to that.
Yeah, so we define in the document what we mean by a county device and a personal device, and it's about what you would think. If we hand it to you, it's a county device. If we don't hand it to you, it's a personal device. And what we are saying is you can use a personal device to access county systems with your Oakland County account, but on that personal device have some fairly simple security measures, like have a PIN or Face ID and fingerprint. Make sure that the screen times out such that if you lay it down for a minute, when you pick it back up, you have to re-enter your PIN or Face ID, things like that. So no, I'm saying you can use that personal device just under certain pretty simple security circumstances to make sure that the Oakland County data that it can access is still protected.
Okay. And my last comment is kind of germane to this, but just simply, I'm very leery about open Wi-Fi, and I have the county's devices that I still don't feel comfortable hopping on the open Wi-Fi here. I'm just wondering just what thought has been put into allowing commissioners in particular, because we're not here very much, to be able to log into a password-protected Wi-Fi with our county devices.
Generally speaking, I would say as long as you are using modern technology, it is okay to use a password-protected Wi-Fi from any personal or county device. Obviously, I would go for something like, going to the McDonald's, going to the AT&T store. There are known public wireless, and then there's kind of sketchy, and it's one of those things that you know it when you see it, right? You're like, well, I probably shouldn't connect to that one, but kind of known public ones, probably good. This is a hackingnetwork.com, probably not.
Right. So for clarity, and I apologize to belabor this, but here on campus, we don't have a password-protected Wi-Fi to log into as commissioners.
Can I?
Please.
So we have a multi-million-dollar project to upgrade our campus Wi-Fi. It is about 30% complete. A good portion of this courthouse building has been completed. This Board of Commissioners arena has been completed. The executive office building is partially complete, et cetera. There are a number of partially completed buildings. The balance is in progress, primarily waiting on supply chain. These wireless access points, these antennas, are wherever they are in the supply chain, right? They are delayed. But as they get delivered to us, we will continue that project. The board approved those funds last July, August for that project. So in the Board of Commissioners area, your IT deployed tablets have access to a password-protected Wi-Fi, password-protected network. Apple iPhones cannot connect to a county network, whether it's a county-issued phone or a personal phone, or any phone cannot connect to that private password-protected network. And that's primarily because that network is actually your Oakland County user ID authentication. So we could set up a separate Wi-Fi network, but it would not give you the same access to the same resources like shared drives and Workday, et cetera, et cetera. So we do actually have that password-protected network available. And I'd be happy, after or any time to be able to show you how to connect to it.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you. I guess when we're out and about and we're just using our data, so we're using 4G or whatever it is, is that secure? We don't have to worry about that?
Yeah, I
As
wouldn't
long as
wor-
we're PIN and password protected on the
That's
device.
correct. As long as
Okay.
you're signed into things with your appropriate Oakland County accounts, you should be good.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right. With that, let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, motion
Thank you,
carries.
Commissioners.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, we have a closed session. For the closed session, that requires the only people to be in the room are the commissioners, the folks from the sheriff's department, and our legal counsel. Everybody else, I'm going to ask you to please step out. We will come back to the Finance Committee after the closed session is finished. Right. And I will need a motion to go into closed session. Commissioner Moss, supported by Commissioner McGilvery. All right. Do we vote on? Yeah, we need to vote on going into closed session. We prompted the vote. Nice to see you.
Commissioner Caldwell? Perhaps the vote
We
to
need
go
you to
into
vote.
closed session.
Oh, okay.
And Charles?
Good morning, how you doing?
I didn't hit send.
Save?
Save, yeah.
I can. Madam Chair, you have 6 yeas and 0 nays.
Okay. We have voted to go into closed session. Okay. Okay.
Oh, did I close up the wrong thing? There we go. Oh, that's. All right. I'll go back to my calendar, sorry.
Okay.
Clicking on the right one.
That is the most annoying little thing. Well, you just have to have your phone with you if you're on your computer, that's all. Oh, no. Well, this one's a go-to meeting, right?
Oh, I am still on. Okay.
Well, that wouldn't have recorded everything we did in the previous.
Okay, we are online. We're
Okay.
live.
Okay, would that have, the fact that you didn't shut down
Yeah, there's
completely?
still people there. Hello, testing. Yeah, we're back.
But I'm curious if we had any breach of privacy.
No, it was muted.
Okay.
It was muted.
Okay, good. All right. So we are back in open session. I declare the meeting back in open session. And I need a motion. Commissioner Kowal.
Oh, okay, I move that we,
Here's the words.
thank you. My cheat sheet here.
It's okay. I need it too.
Okay. Okay.
Authorized corporation.
We're authorizing.
Okay. Move that Corporation Counsel be authorized to proceed in accordance with the directives discussed in closed session.
Commissioner McGilvery seconds. We need a roll call vote.
I can, yeah, prompt the vote.
Please prompt the vote.
Madam Chair, you have 5 yeas, 1 no.
Okay, motion carries. And with that, item 12A is approved. Thank you for all. We're just going to have the last public comment. You can go if you want.
Thank you.
I think, well, I still have a quorum, 1, 2, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which is why I didn't put that other thing on the agenda today, because I knew I would lose everybody to the Parks Board.
And even if you didn't know that, you're taking care of all the
I don't have to have a quorum? Okay. Bye, thank you very much. Yeah, no, it's good to know. I learn something every time I do this. Okay.
He turned it. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, gotcha. That makes more sense.
Give us 1 second to get settled, and we'll move into public comment.
Oh, that's right.
It's okay, you don't have to stay.
Well, I will.
I know I do. Guys.
Is the meeting adjourned? I didn't hear adjourned.
We're not adjourned.
We're not.
We're not. We have public comment. So next up, we have public comment. Each person gets 3 minutes to speak on any topic they'd like to speak on. So if you're here for public comment, come to the end of the table. Tell us who you are and where you live, although I think we know, but that's okay. We're doing the formal thing. All right. Good afternoon.
You don't have TV though, really, so.
You're smart.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. My name's Catherine Kennedy from Lake Orion, and I actually would like to address the election proposal you did where you're keeping the 2 people that were sunset provisions as full-time staff. The sunset provision, as I understood it, meant that it was temporary, goes away. So we've come back and decided we're not going to make it go away. And I actually have very big concerns about the prior election because we actually have currently canvassers going through Oakland County, volunteers going door to door to verify. And so far, the report I'm seeing shows 7% phantom votes in Oakland County. So the fact that we don't have that resolved yet, and we're hiring other people to maintain a system that was violated even by our own Michigan election standards, by our own Secretary of State. In fact, Janetsky versus Benson, case number 20-216MM, Judge Christopher Murray, who was appointed by the Dems, by the way, ruled Jocelyn Benson violated the Michigan Administrative Procedures Act by not verifying the signature verification on part of the ballots. She further had an October 1st meeting downtown Detroit to try to reverse the rule that she violated. All the citizens that showed up that day, 100% of them were against that change. So I think we need to look at the election rules that existed prior to COVID and take a serious look, because there were a lot of things that were changed in the name of COVID that were supposed to be temporary that actually put big risk to our constitutional rights to vote. One person, one citizen, one vote. So I have some very big concerns when we're taking on that chore in the county. The other thing I was surprised to hear, we also are a passport agency. Now, I've dealt with passports. It's always been through the State Department that you get clearance in the past and through post office. And Chuck is shaking his head no, so I may be misinformed. But I was surprised to hear that our local clerk was acting as a passport agency. And are there any other local clerks that do this, or is this us? That's a
No.
new thing that I just missed somewhere
The
along
City
the
of
line.
Novi clerk is a passport office.
Okay.
They process, they help process.
Okay, so that's something
all they
that
do.
was new to me, but I guess it's been going on a long time, but I was surprised because State Department clearance was what was required
Yeah,
before.
they send it to the feds.
So
but
I don't
yeah,
know
they do.
what the deal is there. So
is
I'm very
obnoxious.
concerned about our elections. I think that's a big thing. And I would like, actually, with the IT changes, I would like to know why there's no markup that shows if we had a policy 4 years ago, why is the 4-year policy not marked up for the changes so that you can actually comprehend, this is what we have, this is what we do now, this is what we want to change to.
Okay.
Maybe
Ms.
I'm
Kennedy,
too
your
much
time's up,
business.
so please wrap up.
Well, that's maybe I was in business too long. I don't understand why we wouldn't automatically do a markup if there's a change of a policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak in public comment?
My name is Heather Smiley. I am from Lake Orion. And I guess I want to touch base on some things that went down yesterday, specifically in regards to the retirement board, the LAGA. I do see that it looks like Deanna Stevens has been put into that position or going to be voted on that position. But I did look, we were able to access his application because it was not actually posted, but we were able to get it. And it does look like he had a misdemeanor charge in 2018 while he was working at a financial capacity with AAA. And also on the application it says, have you ever served on a committee, board, things of that nature? And he did put no, but yet if you look under his skills, it shows he is a volunteer for several different committees with Detroit, and that's fine, but it seems like a little bit of a lie if you say that you have not served on a board, whether it is voluntary or not. It should be like, yeah, I volunteer for this board. So I feel that there's a little bit of shadiness, shall we go? And I know that Nelson, Commissioner Nelson, had, to my understanding, a very qualified candidate, and then Woodward pretty much said, quote unquote, it wasn't minority enough. So I feel that that is a political thing instead of like a qualified thing. I also have been keeping my eye on the applicants that were put in. There's a lot of DEI questions, the diversity inclusion stuff. And I noticed that our Oakland County schools, or Oakland County, has a Jay Marks who is doing pretty much presentations. One of his presentation was about from hurt to healing, but it basically is, talking about white privilege, things of that nature. I don't think that is something that is, the world is going crazy at this point in time. He has one that's called Race Cars, a children's book about white privilege. Where is God? If everyone were, there's no, on any of these school boards too, there's no Christian link, there's no let's talk about daily Bible verses. Where is God in our schools, in our families, in our churches? If we all are Christian or Buddhist, Muslim, I think that they're all kind of the same power. I might be wrong. I'll ask them when I meet them. We wouldn't have a need for equality classes. Be nice to your neighbor. Respect your elders. Like, I think we have got into so much muck about being PC that we've lost the focus that we're all made in his image. We are all brothers and sisters, no matter our nationality, our creed, the language I speak. I am Native American and Irish. I grew up 20 years at 8483 Westwood, Detroit, Michigan. A lot of the stuff is low class, not gender class. So I think we're taking a lot of unnecessary steps that might damage children in the long run, and I think we just need to open our eyes a little bit and realize that we are all united. We say the Pledge of Allegiance, it's one nation under God. It doesn't say black people, white people, Chinese, none of that is, we are one nation, we are one county. So we just need to reel it back in and really get focused on the important stuff. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Smiley. All right, does anybody else have anything are there any other people who want to speak in public comment? Seeing no one, I will close public comment, and do we have any other business from the committee? Seeing none, I will call this meeting adjourned at 12:53. Thanks. Last time I checked.